Lauren Hopson, 6513 Foxhound Road. Tonight I wanted to make a few comments about the possibility of doing another Knox County teacher survey before the end of the year. This issue was discussed at length on Monday night. It is my understanding that the superintendent would rather just use the results from the state's TEL electronic survey than do another paper pencil survey for just Knox County teachers, since many of the questions appear to be similar. On the surface, this seems to make sense. There are similar questions on it, and an electronic survey would definitely save time and manpower in terms of administering the survey and assimilating the data afterward. I just have to question why, all of a sudden, Knox County Schools is concerned about the time and manpower spent for data collection. After all, many teachers in our system currently feel like they have been directed to spend as much time and manpower on data collection and analysis as they actually do on teaching. The tracking of students' growth from year to year has become a national obsession as of late, so I would think data collection and the tracking of growth or change between surveys would also be of utmost importance to KCS administration. We want to know how our students have improved. Don't we want to know how our system has improved? We seem to put a high priority on that for students. Why not for our educational leaders as well? In addition, it is more difficult for the results of the teacher survey to be skewed by the media into a statistical positive no matter what the results. After the last TEL survey, the public was told that 70-some% of teachers were happy with their jobs. However, only 40-some% of Knox County teachers took the survey. Guess what? 70% of 40% is 28%. That sounds a lot different than 70%. Teachers are tired of having statistics twisted to a point that they no longer have any basis in reality and then are used against them. The fact is that many of the last paper pencil surveys were done in a staff meeting setting, so there was a more focused opportunity to complete it. Even if it is complete fiction that the computer system is capable of tracking teachers' responses, I would think KCS would want as representative a sample as possible to get an accurate picture of their improvement from last year. Part of the last survey included 163 pages of written responses that can more definitively reflect a teacher's thinking. In recent years, education reformers, including our own superintendent, have pushed for a Common Core PARCC assessment that allows our students to give open-ended responses so a better understanding of a student's knowledge can be assessed. The thinking has been that bubble tests just weren't sufficient to assess a student's true aptitude or the growth a teacher had affected in that child. It makes sense to me that the same would be true for a teacher survey. Do you want to see the results of bubbles and numbers, or do you want to have a more exact understanding of the issues important to our professional educators? As another professional educator, Brenda Oglesby, stated so eloquently on Monday night, it is worse to give a survey and then do nothing with the results than to give no survey at all. So I ask you this one question. If getting accurate data is so wonderful, what is the Knox County administration afraid of? Thank you.
Mark Tyler.
Good evening. I'm Mark Taylor, 12912 Sycamore Circle. Tonight I want to ask you a couple questions and make sure you're aware of some circumstances with the teacher evaluation system. First of all, I want to ask if you think it's fair or just that by simply mistakenly clicking the wrong tab or button or choosing one achievement measure over another, a teacher's effectiveness score can drop. Understand that the teacher does nothing different in their teaching, yet by simply choosing one measure over another, either intentionally or by mistake, the teacher's overall effectiveness score can and will change by a full point or more. Again, the only thing that changed is the selection the teacher made. Is the evaluation system evaluating the teacher or the selection of the teacher? If the teacher realizes they have mistakenly chosen one measure over another, and it is past October 15th, they're not even allowed to change their selection. They're stuck with that selection, even though the majority of the school year still remains. Why would a teacher not be allowed to fix this kind of mistake? When TEAM first started, our administrators told us that if at the end of the year there was a different measure selection that would help us more than the one we originally chose, that selection would be used instead. Why can that not be done now? If this is a state policy, I would ask you to include this issue in your list of legislative priorities. Another issue I would like you to contemplate is the use of the 8th grade Explore test results as an achievement measure. 8th grade students take the Explore test on October 7th. Students' first day of school is August 11th. That means students have been in class approximately 43 days, or about 22% of the school year when they take the Explore test. How much achievement can really be attributed to a teacher in such a short time as that? I'm asking you to think about this situation because it's a perfect example of the complete lack of logic, fairness, and educational responsibility that defines the team evaluation model. Lastly, but most pressingly, I would like to make you aware of a lack of communication and a concern about the TCAP writing assessment, which is ongoing now. First of all, Knox County needs to be very clear and very forthcoming with the reality that the writing assessment, according to the Tennessee Department of Education, is not for a grade. Many students, parents, teachers, and I fear even administrators do not understand that the TCAP writing assessment is not for a grade. This unintentional, or maybe not unintentional confusion and misinformation is resulting in a chaotic stream of information raining down on students, parents, and even teachers. Some high school students are even being told that the writing assessment will count as their first grade the following semester, anywhere from 6 months to 11 months after they take it. Using any grade in that way is absolutely absurd. I'm asking you to please send a clear, concise message to all of Knox County schools clarifying that the TCAP writing assessment does not count for a grade in any way. And I would ask that you do so immediately since the writing assessment is currently taking place. We owe it to our students, parents, and teachers to be completely transparent, forthcoming, honest about this issue and all issues. Thank you.
Stephen Rodgers.
Steve Rodgers, 3150 Washington Ridge Way. It's been brought to my attention that I need to be more positive when bringing up issues for discussion, so I'd like to start by briefly throwing a shout out for the solar panel initiative that the board addressed a few months ago. We were moving a spotlight into the booth in the auditorium at Southdale Middle School today, and so the maintenance guys had come in looking to look at the roof and the ceiling and everything. So we have a great light, so we shine it up there and they can look at it. And it filled me with a lot of pride to see that we were doing that. I thought that's a super cool thing that we're doing, both as a potential fiscal measure for us because of saving on energy, the fact that it's environmentally responsible, it's a great teaching tool. I think that's super cool. Love that. My second point that I'm going to is about the teacher survey discussion that happened on Monday. And I've just got some thoughts on how to create an effective survey format. Kind of 3 points to go off of. The first is the content. If the in-house survey and the TEL survey have similar or the same questions, we can kind of logically assume that the specific content of that survey isn't a factor in why people are taking it because it's the same stuff. Or if we don't know what the specific questions are going to be, then the teachers don't have that as like a motivating factor into why they do or don't take one survey more than the other. A second factor is the accountability within it. Will the answers that are gleaned from that survey bear fruit for the people who answer the questions? It was mentioned that there was a big drop-off, I think, between 2 years ago and last year on the amount of teachers that took the test percentage-wise. And I'm curious if there was maybe a drop-off between those 2 years in the feeling of the teachers that they were being listened to. Did the teachers see that their concerns were being addressed 2 years ago and then didn't see them addressed, and so the next year well, that didn't really work, why am I going to spend the time on it? People have a tendency to kind of get shut down, and after a few times being shot down, you kind of stop putting effort into it. You can see proof of that just like in local elections, state elections, national elections. The trend shows itself there. The third aspect of it is the safety factor. I assume most of you are on Facebook, and if you're not, you know how it works. You got a lot of people showing off their engagements. They're really proud of their babies and grandbabies. They like to show off this picture of this beautiful meal they had at a nice restaurant. And then some people feel a little more secure sharing more personal information, more what might be considered risky things to share out there. It's emotionally vulnerable for them because they're sharing it with their friends and they feel that they don't have to worry about judgment. And then some people just share too much information, and you can't do anything about those people because that's the beauty of the internet. The other end of it is they just might not care what people think, so they're just going to go ahead and throw it out there. A work survey, a professional submission, is not going to be a casual social media experience. It's going to be treated like a big deal. Teachers don't have the feeling of a cozy Instagrammed meal or cats finding ways to sit adorably in things when they're answering work stuff. So when you're constructing a survey and you're hoping to get in-depth, honest, accurate responses from teachers, it needs to be a format in which we feel safe. And in that, paper and pencil is absolutely going to be more popular. We're far less likely to make ourselves identifiable that way. And there's enough of us that worry about reprisal, that's actually a factor. I write in all capital letters and don't mind really being known, but there's a lot of people out there who want to project the image of the grandbabies and the Instagrammed images and don't want that traceable submission link or an IP address can be logged back to them when they're putting the information in. So let us do it in a written format. Let us write uncoached by someone in the room with us, and let us give you the answers that you need to hear. We don't want to give you answers we think sound best. We don't want to give you answers that are keeping a letter out of our inbox or out of our personnel files. We don't want to put in an answer that we think is going to get brushed off. And as far as content, I'm sure we can reopen the doc or the PDF that we printed for the last in-house one and just use that again. It's same questions. It's a great way to compare. You know, it's got like the control group aspect to it. So I hope what I've talked about tonight's been able to inform you prior to the mid-month meeting, and you can take that into account when crafting the format of it. Thanks.